Hey yarn friends, welcome back to LlamaMamaKayla's Yarn Tube. And today I am making this sock. And I'm using the colors gray, off-white, and red. And it kind of gives it like a sock monkey feel to the sock. And it's a slipper sock. So I'm using a red heart off-white, a red mainstay color, and a red heart dark gray color. So that's the colors I'm using in mine. If you don't want to make yours the sock monkey theme, then you can, welcome to make yours any color you would like. These make great slipper socks. So I will be using the 24 peg loom. And I'll be using my large KB loom pick. So anyway, let's get started working on this. And I will be using 2 strands of number 4. And the way I use 2 strands, I use it off of the same skein of yarn. 1 strand is coming from the inside, and 1 strand is coming from the outside. And I just grab these 2, and I just pull them out like this, and work my yarn. And I do not worry about the yarn twisting, or I'm not actively trying to keep this straight or anything. It does twist and turn, such as this. I mean, I don't do it on purpose, but it does happen, and I don't worry about it. I just keep right on working. It doesn't matter in the end. You can see here that it still comes out really nice. So it doesn't matter if your yarn twists. So I wouldn't fret over that. Anyway, I'm going to make a slip knot and place it on my peg number 1 and tighten that down. And then I'm just going to turn the tail on the inside. Alright, and then I'm going to E-wrap all my pegs, all 24 pegs all the way around. Alright, I'm back to the last peg, back at the first peg, and so I'm just going to push those down and E-wrap all the way around again. Okay, I'm at my last peg, so I am going to, got a hair in it right there, so I'm going to go ahead and yarn over on that last peg so it secures my yarn. Otherwise, if I let go of it, my yarn would come all off. Alright, and this is called a E-wrap cast on. So I'm just going to go all the way around, bringing my bottom loop up over the top loop and over the top of the peg. Alright, and now we are ready to begin the cuff of the sock. We are going to be working on this part right here of the sock. And so for this, I'm going to E-wrap a peg. And I'm not going to yarn over yet. I'm just going to leave that E-wrap on there. And then I'm going to purl a peg. So E-wrap and then purl. And I'm going to leave all my E-wraps on there until I get finished with the whole row. When you tighten that down after a purl, make sure both strands do tighten down. And the last peg is a purl. Okay, so now I've completed my last peg. I'm going to go back around and throw over all of my E-wrap loops, the bottom of those. Alright, so now we're ready for row 2 on this. And row 2 is going to be the same thing. Actually, we're going to do 5 more rows of E-wrap, purl, E-wrap, purl. So in total, it will be 6 rows of that to complete this section. So I will meet back up with you when I have done 5 more rows, which will be 6 rows in total. Okay, I'm back and I have done my 6 rows of purl, E-wrap, purl, E-wrap, purl, E-wrap, purl all the way around. I did 6 complete rows of that. Okay, the next section we're going to do is this right here. So for this, we are going to E-wrap. And when you go to E-wrap this, go ahead, from your last peg, go ahead and give that a good tug around this first peg, and then you can loosen up around the rest of the pegs. Your E-wraps can be loose and, you know, not as tight. But that very first one, from the last peg to the first, give it a good tug and wrap that first peg tight. That will help with laddering in your project, whether you're making a hat or these slipper socks or what. All right. So that's just an E-wrap, and we're going to yarn over. Excuse me. And so we are going to do one more E-wrap row of the white. So again, we're going to give this a good tug to go around that first loop. And then just yarn over. Okay, now we are going to change color for the next row. And I'm going to take this white here and I'm just going to leave a little bit of a tail and clip that off. Then I'm going to take my red and still using 2 strands. Alright. Take my red and I'm going to lay it in and lay my white across the red. And then tie this in. Okay. And then I'm going to tie these two together. And then I'm going to tie my red and the white together. Okay. So that is a little knot there. Okay, push all that towards the inside of the loom. You can trim up these strands here. Okay. Now, we can push all our loops down. All right, and we are going to E-wrap this row. Okay. Then we will just yarn over. All right, so we're just doing that one row of red. So we're going to cut our red and go back to our off-white. I'm going to lay it in, lay my red over it, tie my whites, and I'm going to pull that down, all the way down. Make sure it's good and tight, and then tie my red and white together a couple of times. All right, I feel like that's secure, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to trim that and then move on. So now we're on with the white, and we are going to E-wrap. So we pull this over and go to the first peg and start E-wrapping. Pull my yarn out some. And then just E-wrap all the way around. And then we're just going to yarn over that red E-wrap over the top and over the peg. Okay, and then we are going to do one more row of the off-white. One more row of that. Okay, so on our sock here, we have completed the cuff and part of the ankle. Now we're going to start with the gray and work on down the ankle section. So I'm going to clip my off-white, and I'm through with that for now. And for my gray yarn, I need to find my, here it is. Get my 2 strands of gray, and I'm going to lay that across here and tie my gray around the off-white. Okay, now we're just going to E-wrap with our gray, and we are going to complete 7 E-wrap rows. We're just E-wrapping around. So this is row 1 of the gray. So I'm going to let you pause the video and finish up your 6 more rows of gray, and then we will catch back up together. Okay, now we have completed this gray section, which was 7 rows of E-wrap. Now we're ready to work on this heel. So we're only going to be working on the heel. Okay, so I'm going to change colors. I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail of gray. Move my gray out of the way and go back to my off-white. I'm going to lay this in here and tie the off-white around the gray. Okay. Okay, and tying those up. And then I'm going to just trim off these tails. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with peg 1, and we are going to work 12 pegs. See, I have a line here showing that my peg, my loom is divided in half, so I have 12 pegs on this side and 12 pegs on that side, since it's a 24 peg loom. But we're only going to work these 12s from this one to this one, this section. So we are going to E-wrap these pegs. Let me pull off some white. Okay. And yarn over your bottom row. And push those loops down for those 12 pegs. All right, now we're going to come back. See, I went in front of that peg, in front of peg 12, and now I'm going to wrap around pegs 11 back down to peg 1. Okay. And then just yarn over. All right, push those loops down. Okay, so this will be our 3rd pass on this. We're going to E-wrap these 12 pegs again. Okay, push those loops down and E-wrap for a 4th pass on these 12 pegs. Now we've E-wrapped those 12 pegs 4 times, so let's come down here to peg number 12. Take this loop off and let's put it on peg 11. So we're moving peg 12 over to peg 11, and then we're going to E-wrap. Okay, now we're going to take peg 1. We're going to take the loop off of it and put on peg 2. And E-wrap. Just pulling out some more yarn. Alright, so our working yarn is down here. So we need to take loop on peg 11 and let's place it on peg number 10. Okay, push our loops all down, and then we're going to E-wrap. Okay, our yarn is down here. We're going to take the loop on peg 2 and place it on peg 3. Alright, push all our loops down. And let's E-wrap. Alright, we're going to take this peg 10 and move it over to peg 9. And E-wrap. Okay, we're going to take, we have 3 empty pegs on this side, and we have 2 empty pegs on this side, so we need to do this number 3 right here. We're going to place it on peg 4, and we're going to E-wrap. Okay, Okay, so now we have 3 empty pegs and 3 empty pegs. So what we need to do now is, I'm going to pull my yarn out just a little bit so I can, okay. We need to place stitches back up on these pegs. We have 3 empty pegs, but we're going to place a stitch on 5 pegs. This one has a gray stitch on it already. We're going to place a white stitch on it, or a stitch on it, and we're going to place a stitch on this one down here that already has one. And we're going to do that on both sides. And by placing the stitches on the pegs that already have a yarn on them, that will prevent from having any holes on the side of our socks. So what we're going to do is just look down in here, look down inside your loom, look for the stitches, and just pick them up and place them back up on your pegs. And I'll just be honest, sometimes I really have trouble seeing what stitch to pick up, and I'll just kind of play around with it until I am comfortable that I have a good stitch to go up there. Okay, and I'm just kind of looking right here to make sure I don't have a big hole right there. All right, then come over to your other side and do the same thing. Just pick up stitches and place them up on your pegs. All right. So that is the heel section. Now we can change color because we're going to go all the way around the loom now. But before we do that, we need to notice that our peg number 1 is going to change. It was over here, but now our working yarn is right here on this peg right here. So this next peg, the yarn is here. This next peg is going to become our first peg. So I'm going to take a stitch marker and just place it on here. Sometimes I lock it, sometimes I don't. But I'll just lock that around there, maybe, if I can get it. Okay, so that is now my peg 1. If you don't have a stitch marker, you could put a piece of tape right here, some washi tape or something like that. Just anything to show you that this is peg 1 now. Because whenever we're working around, we can't stop here at the last one anymore. We have to keep going to this peg is our last peg. Okay, so I'm going to change colors because I only wanted this section white. I want the rest of this to be gray, and gray working on down. So I'm going to change back to gray. All right. I'm going to pull that down tight and make sure it is good and tight, not there. And then I'm going to tie the white and the gray together. And I may do that twice. That little strand got too short to come through, so I'm just going to tie it again with another one of those strands and then clip off my ends. Okay. So, and keep in mind that some pegs do have 2 loops on them, and that's okay. We're just going to pretend like that's 1 loop. All right, so now we just start, here's one of my tails I forgot to clip. Let me just clip it real quick. Okay, so now we're just going to start E-wrapping. And we're just going to E-wrap all the way around. Back around to our new last peg. All right, that is our first row of the gray. I'm going to push that knot inside there good. All right. Okay, so we're going to do this next section in 5 sets of 4 rows. So we just did 1 row of the gray. We need to do 3 more of the gray, and that will be set 1. Then we'll do set 2, and that'll be 4 rows of the gray. Set 3 would be 4 rows of the gray. Set 4 will be 4 rows of gray, and set 5 will be 4 rows of gray. So complete 5 sets of 4 rows of this gray, and then we will meet back up. And just to help you understand what I am saying, so I don't want you to have any questions. That was row 1. This is row 2. Okay, I'm just going to yarn over for row 2. Okay, and then push all your loops down and E-wrap around again. Okay, yarn over, and this will be row 3. Alright, and one more row. Alright, and this will be row 4. Okay, that is row 4. So we did rows 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that was set 1. Now we need to do 5 more sets of 4 rows, and I will meet you back up then. Okay, just a little tip that might make that a little bit easier for you to keep up with. You could place a stitch marker here on row 4. Then every time you do 4 rows, you could add another stitch marker. And once you have 6 stitch markers, you will know you have done 6 sets of 4. So that will make it a little easier to count and keep up with your rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, 4, stitch marker. Okay, I hope that's explained well enough. So I will meet you back up when I have 6 stitch markers. Okay, I am back after completing 5 sections of 4 rows each section. I think beforehand I did say 6 sections, and that was wrong. I will put something up to say that that was wrong. It's supposed to be 5, so you should have 5 stitch markers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that shows your 5 sections of 4 rows. So now we're on the 6th section, and it's going to be a little bit different than those. So for the 6th section, let's go ahead and E-wrap. All right, and then yarn over. Okay, push those loops down. All right. And let's E-wrap one more time with the gray. This will be our last gray E-wrap. Okay, and yarn over. Alright, now we have completed the gray section. Now we're going to start the white section and that one red row. So we're going to change colors. And we're through with the gray. Okay. So I'm on with the white, and I'm going to, lay my white in here, lay my gray over it, and then tie my white around that gray. Okay, I'm going to pull this knot all the way down next to the peg, and then pull the whites to make sure it's tight. Now I'll tie my white and gray together. I'm going to tie that twice. Okay, and then we can trim that tail there. Okay, push all your pegs down. Alright, and our working yarn is right here on this peg, our last peg. So we just bring it over to the first peg and continue to E-wrap. Pull some yarn out here. Okay, that is one row of the white, and that's the third row. 1, 2, 3, third row in this section for section number 6. Alright, and we just take our yarn and E-wrap again, and this will be row 4 for this section. Okay, that is the 4th row. So I'm going to add a stitch marker right there just so I'll know that that's section number 6 is complete. Okay, so now we are on section number 7, and the first row on section number 7 is a red row. So we need to clip our yarn and get our red yarn. Okay. So I'm going to lay my yarn in and lay the off-white yarn across the red and tie a knot in my red yarn around the white. And we'll tie that twice. And clip the ends. Okay. Push all the loops down. Alright, and this is our row 1. So we pull our working yarn over to row 1 and start E-wrapping. Peg 1. But this is row 1 for section 7. Okay, now we're going to change back to white. So I'm going to cut that tail. Okay, and we're going back to the white. So I'm going to lay it in and lay my red across it. Tie the white around the red. Okay, I'm going to clip my tails and push all the loops down. And E-wrap. Starting on my peg 1. Okay, so that is row 2 of section 7. So we need 2 more rows of white. So do 2 more rows and I will meet you back. Okay, I completed 2 more rows of white. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4 rows in section 7. So we are done. We have 7 sections there. So we're going to take our working yarn and wrap it around the loom, back around to the new peg 1. And then clip our yarn. Alright, we're going to do a drawstring bind off. So just go down through the stitch, pick up both strands of your yarn, and pull it through. Okay, we're almost done with our drawstring bind off. Oh, nope, that's not the last. We got to go around to this peg. I was thinking we was at the end. Continue going around till you get to the new last peg. Alright, and I'm going to go up in the first peg one more time. And now pop all these off. Alright, now we can take our sock and turn it out so we can take all these stitch markers out. Just kind of go back all the way to the heel so you can make sure you get all your stitch markers. And just remove those. Okay, now we can close up our sock. Get your sock and lay it flat on its side. Get it all straight, and then you can start pulling these strands to close it up, and then kind of open it a little again and close it up. Give it a chance to close equally all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to take my tail here and thread this into I have way too much tail, so I'm going to trim it off just a little. So I still have a good bit. And I'm going to take this tail and thread my yarn needle. Okay, and I'm going to pull that tight, and then I'm going to come up through the next stitch beside where my yarn is and come up through the center. And before it goes back through, I'm going to grab that yarn and then pull it tight. And I'm going to pull all my both of my strands, make sure they get pulled really tight. and make sure all your tails come through. Okay, and I'm going to do that again. And go back through the loop and pull it really, really tight. And then I'm going to take my needle and stick it through the inside. And turn my sock inside out. And then pull my yarn through. And I want to pick up a stitch and tie that off again. And if you have a hole there, you can go around and pick up a stitch every now and then. Not side by side, but just kind of spaced out a little bit. Give those just a little bit of spacing, and then you can pull that tight and it will close up that hole. And then just grab a stitch and tie it off. Okay, and then you might want to do it again just for security. Okay. And I am pleased with mine. So I'm going to snip my yarn and turn my sock back out. Okay, but I have this strand up here that I'm going to weave in. Thread that on my needle. And this is the outside of the sock. So I'm going to go through the outside to the inside. And then I'm just going to go through these stitches right here. I'm going to go through the sides of these for a ways down, ever how long my yarn and needle will allow. I think that might be it for me. I might can go one more time. Okay, so I'll pull my yarn on through and then just snip off that tail. Okay, so there we have sock number 1 and 2. And let me just tell you, they are so squishy. They're just so squishy and soft. I can't wait to wear these tonight. And I hope you had fun making them. I think these would be a great Valentine's gift for someone. I think that would be a fun gift, the slipper socks. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and feel free to share this video in other Loom Knit groups on Facebook. And thank you very much.